It's a beautiful thing.
We in 6 countries. That's
yes.
what I mean. So that's the thing that stands out to me.
Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody. We love y'all.
Yes. Thank y'all for listening.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the channel. I'm Coach Deb, representing one half of the Healing Corner podcast. If you're interested in booking a consultation as well as service or a reading, go ahead and check me out at debshealingcornerstone.com.
I'm Coach Yams, owner of Healing is Work Coaching, and I help millennial professional women to live on purpose unapologetically and to help them to stop doing shit out of obligation. If you need help with that, reach out to me, Coach Yams, YAMZ.com.
Welcome, listeners, to the Healing Corner podcast. I am Coach Deb here with my co-host, Coach Yams, and we're here to talk about nurturing inner harmony, expanding our journey in holistic healing. But first, we want to kind of recap on our previous episode with Ísis. And in that episode, we talked about introducing you to yourself, a guide for transitioning to a natural lifestyle. So, Coach Yams, what did you get out of that? What was the recap that you got out of that episode?
My favorite thing that I took away from Ísis and being on the show was that it's fascinating to see that when you decide to put yourself first, you are able to heal yourself, but then you are also able to help other people with their healing journey, be it because you create a product or you offer a service, or just because of seeing you do a thing that lends them the courage to be able to do a thing for themselves also.
Yes, I agree. And I really like the fact that when she talked about how she makes her actual products, she does it by hand. And so it puts that extra touch or that extra inf on it by having, the person that is creating the thing be able to do it by hand. So I thought that was really cool. So if you guys are interested in knowing, and then she does do coaching as well. So if you're interested in maybe getting a session in, or if you would like some natural products, make sure that you check out that episode. And then we're going to go ahead and get started with this particular episode for today, where we're going to discuss about our own personal experiences. We probably will give you guys a few resources and also some tips that you can use to integrate in your own daily life. So with that being said, the topic focus: how are we as hosts able to expand our own holistic practices? Since we've had that conversation with Ísis, what about you, Coach Yams? How have you been able to?
I would say that the one thing that has been that I've been reminded of is that we don't have to overcomplicate things. And so oftentimes we feel like something that we need to do or want to do for ourselves is going to be very time consuming, or we just don't have time. We're just so busy. And if you just really keep things simple and just carve out 5-10 minutes to just sit and breathe and give that to yourself, it's incredible how refreshing that is. And so, like, since our conversation with Ísis, I have made it a point to be very intentional about being still, because for me, sitting still and allowing my mind a chance to just calm down instead of being on 1000 at all times helps me to feel less overwhelmed, less anxious. And it allows me to also check in with my body and see, do I need something? It might look like I need a nap, and I can do that for myself. What about you?
Well, I would have to say, since having that conversation with her, I've been more intentional about my breathing. And it's kind of funny because the other day, I just recently, maybe it hasn't been a month, I just recently got a new addition to the family, got a little kitten. And it was like the kitten helped me a little bit with the breathing because I was laying there and I was holding on to the kitten, and you know how they have the little purrs or the little, they make those little noises, and it was like I could feel that vibration on my chest, and it made my intentions to breathe more deeper. And I was thinking about that conversation we had with her, how sometimes we don't take those deep breaths, and then that affects our nervous system. And so that's what I took from it. I think that that's something that we should all, look into as well. So, and so when it comes to like natural remedies, oils, teas, what have you been incorporating, Coach Yams?
For me, I had this week I made sure I drank some tea. And so I have several teas, well, different types of herbs that I got from a local store, like mugwort and rose petals and nettle, and just different herbs that have different properties and purposes, some for energy, some for relaxing, whatever the case may be. But I really enjoy how I feel when I've had tea. And because I wanted to make it extra special, I put it in my little teacup. So I went to an antique shop last year sometime because I decided I want to make my regular experiences feel extravagant sometimes. And so I have a cute little china tea set, and I took my tea in this china set just to add a little pizzazz to my tea.
Okay, well, I love that. I actually have a little collection of teas. I wouldn't say like the biggest collection. I noticed that actually because she was kind of talking about that. And I realized I had chai tea and I had a couple of different herb teas. And I realized the difference between them, like how I have to set them up, or what would you say, the way that I prepare them. I've noticed that. And before, I guess I just thought that teas were kind of just like you just do the simple thing, but I'm starting to be more. I'm starting to be more detailed with it. I'll put it like that, and then also pay attention to the things that I actually put into the tea. So instead of like using something that would be like a diet dairy product, try to use something that's more natural, like a honey or something like that. So that's the things that I have been incorporating. So when it comes to consistency for our listeners, what would you say could help them with their self-care routine?
I say that what studies show is that you do good when you get into a routine, and setting a new routine can be done, I think, most successfully, they would say, if you put it with something else. So, for instance, you could add some part of your routine after you brush your teeth. So, for instance, when you get up in the morning, you go and you brush your teeth, having time to have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea could be the thing that you add on to the thing that you already do to simplify and make a new routine a part of your day. Another thing I would say would be to start small instead of trying to incorporate, 3, 5, 7 new habits. Just start with one and start with just small actions in your everyday.
It's interesting you just said that about just doing small things, because that was the thing that came to mind for me. And also reward yourself. And the reward doesn't have to be something that brings you back into your old life. It could be something that you want to look forward to. And it doesn't even have to be something expensive. It could be something small, or you could just put something away for something bigger. If it's something that you want to buy and it costs this. So not only are you rewarding yourself, but you're also getting that thing done, and it's keeping you consistent and motivated at the same time. So that's what I would say about self-care, your self-care routine. Okay, so let's talk about a few discussing points. So when it comes to integrating natural products in your daily life, Coach Yams, what benefits have you noticed?
I'd say the one that I've noticed, and this has been years ago, but this is just always an example that I like to share. I remember there was a time in which I was using antiperspirant, like Degree and other brand name, what we call deodorants, but there's a difference between deodorant and antiperspirant. And when I noticed that when I used antiperspirant, it made my armpits itch. And so over time, I've tried different natural deodorants, and I found one that I do really enjoy that combats the funk, but also prevents me from having to put those chemicals on my body and expose myself to those things, because the stuff that's in the antiperspirant is bad for you, and we don't know the long-term effects that can happen. And it feels good to be able to use a natural product, and I know what is in it, and I can pronounce all the things, and it's from a small business, and so supporting all the things while also being able to feel good about a thing. I've also switched to natural toothpaste instead of using the traditional like big brand names, and teeth feel just as clean. And I know that I'm not introducing my body to all these potentially harmful chemicals that we don't know what the long term effects are.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And actually, to go along with what you said, I've kind of done the same thing when it comes to like anti um I'd say chemical type products. I have stopped with the regular commercial shower gels because I realize I have very, first off, I've always known this. I've had very sensitive skin, and I created my own type of cleanser for my body. And then if I do use like a regular, what you call body wash, I usually go towards the more natural ones, or the ones that have less ingredients. Like I like how you said you can read the ingredients on it. So I've been doing that. And then also when it comes to lotions, I stopped using commercial lotions. Like the last time that I used a lotion, it was kind of a, I guess, well, it was, I don't want to say the brand, but after using that, and it smelled good, because that's the thing. Like lotions, they smell good, but it's like at the end of the day, that's the only benefit you're really getting, because most of the time you're still dry or you're still ashy, or you have to keep applying it over and over again. So I started going towards like the shea butters and like the natural body butters. And it has definitely significantly helped me with my particular skin. So the next question, or the next thing, when it comes to practical ways, what could we give the listeners to start incorporating in their routine, even if they have a busy schedule? What would you say, Coach Yams?
Definitely to just stop making excuses and make a small change. So, like, even if it's just changing out the brand of toothpaste, trying something new, even if it's just something real simple, like maybe instead of going through your entire workday and not taking lunch and not taking your 15-minute breaks, you could just take your 15-minute break, and you don't have to have anything to do on it. You could sit and I would encourage not doing things like checking emails and switching to other busy work things. Go outside, go for a walk. If you're in an office, go outside and go for a walk if you can, or walk around your floor. There's different ways to get up and just do something, but taking time for yourself is what I would encourage, and find little ways to do it, because it makes it easier to commit to when you can just slide it in somewhere real quick and not have to commit to like 30 minutes or an hour.
Yes. And then I like how you talked about the breaks at work, because it's almost like it's engraved in our mind that lunch means eat, but lunch doesn't always equate to eating. Because I've noticed that a lot of times when I take my lunch, I am not really hungry. And I'm like, I'm forcing myself to eat because, quote unquote, this is my lunch schedule. But you have to look at your schedule as time for you. You can decide that. You don't have to dictate or allow yourself to just go with what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is eating lunch, so this is what I need to do. You could spend that time to practice meditating. If you haven't been able to meditate, this is the perfect time to try. Or just take maybe a few minutes. Maybe you only got a 30-minute lunch. Practice meditating for 5-10 minutes, and maybe you could just fast for that day. Drink water. If you're on a goal to try to lose some weight, this could be an opportunity for you to look at it like, wow, okay, so instead of eating, I can go ahead and just drink some water. Stuff like that. It's a lot of different things throughout our day that we can change, even though we might be on a strict schedule or very busy. Okay. And so when it comes to personal reflections on how consistency or self-care have impact our emotions and physical being, what would you say you've been reflecting on, Coach Yams?
I know with my consistent meditation and journaling practice, I start my day by checking on me. And I notice that when I do that, I feel a lot clearer. I feel ready to do my day. And I notice when I get out of that habit and I'm like, oh, I just have to get up and I'm busy or I'm traveling or whatever the case may be. When I don't have my regular check-in on me, it impacts me. And then, the energy goes faster, and my mental capacity wears down quicker, and maybe my ability to people and be around folks. It can't can't if I don't check on me first and make sure that my needs are cared. My needs are cared for.
I agree. I agree. When it comes to like you said, when I feel imbalanced or I don't feel as though I've been doing the things that's necessary for my self-care, I can tell the difference. I can tell my tolerance for others around me, it changes. Um and then it's like the sensitivity too. Like I feel more overstimulated because previously, before I even knew anything about self care, I was getting overly stimulated and didn't know what that was. So I would just feel like I'm freaking out or something's wrong with me and not realize it's because you continue to keep stimulating yourself and you're not taking a break or you're not spending time with yourself. Check in with your emotions. I have a lot of water in my chart. So I'm prone to be very emotional. And sometimes I have to, really just sit back and realize, like, you're prone to a certain thing. That means that you have to balance out that energy so that you don't have too much of it. So that's what I've noticed. And plus, physical well being can be like, your nervous system or your face could break out because you're stressed out, stuff like that. So all those things are things that we have to look at, guys. Okay. So let's talk about overcoming bound barriers when it comes to holistic living. So, Coach Yams, when it comes to acknowledging the common obstacles that you have encountered, how do you try to stick to a holistic practice? How do you avoid or even deal with those obstacles that are going to happen?
One that is coming to mind that I think is important, and we're not quite into the holiday season yet, but I think that when people make decisions on how they're going to change how they eat, and it looks different than what other people around you do or what you've traditionally done, um, sometimes it's hard to be around the people who have known you for the time up until this point when you've made this change. And it feels like a struggle to not feel out of place while still being amongst these people that you call your community. And so I say to surround yourself with community that is on a similar journey or that you can learn from would be one way to combat obstacles that come up.
For sure, for sure. Community is very important because just like how you said, holidays and things of that happen. And it's kind of like, when you think about even the way that you do or you go about regular life can be different than the people that you live around. Like, I know in my particular neighborhood, I have a lot of neighbors that you can tell they live a different lifestyle. They celebrate the holidays. Like right now, I got neighbors that have their Halloween things out already. And, they're just excited about that. And then you look at my house and there's nothing on in the front, And it's like you have to be okay with being different. You have to be okay with being who you are. And you have to just accept yourself because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. I mean, if you're not hurting anybody, you can't see it as, you're doing something wrong, even though your community might see it as something that, is different but there's somebody that's watching you and they're seeing you as an example. So we have to remember that too. And we can help others to live in a holistic way as well. So when it comes to like time management, skepticism, and emotional resistance, or when it comes to internal struggles, what would you say helps you to be able to handle that, Coach Yams?
One thing that I think is very helpful and important is your mindset. How you choose to see a thing, how you choose to give energy to a thing, it can impact how you engage with it. So, in life, in general, most things are neutral. Um, and you can choose to not take things personally and see things as neutral. And so, if you're not choosing to say, for instance, somebody cut you off in traffic, you could choose to see it as somebody doing it because they don't care about you and they had malicious intents. Or you can say to yourself, well, maybe they have somewhere they really need to be. I hope they get there safely. And that energy feels different because if you're angry about it, if you're flipping the bird and then you're telling people about it for the rest of your day, this is things that you've given your energy to. So I say, be conscious of where you're giving your energy when it comes to things and be mindful of the mindset that you have. Things can be as good or as bad as you choose to see them.
Yes, I agree. And I was going to add to that and say, for me, I look at it as there's things that people are going to do, and you can't control what people do. You can't control how people feel. That's going to be what they're going to do what they want to do. So in the end, only thing that you can control is you. You can control how you see things. You can control how you act. So in the end, it's up to us to be able to control what's going on. And also, if we need the help, reach out and find the outlet that's necessary. If the outlet looks like going boxing, like maybe you have anger issues or you feel as though you got a lot of frustration built up, maybe you want to go boxing, kickboxing, things of that. It's a lot of different ways you can release some of that frustration that's inside of you. Go for a run. That's also a very positive thing that you can do to help with those struggles. And don't worry about, again, what other people think, because you can't control what they think. If you got a lot of skepticism or people that doubt you, maybe you need to look at the community you connect with and look towards going towards being in a supportive community versus being in a community that gives you a lot of skepticism or a lot of negative thoughts. Okay, so when it comes to um let's go ahead and share like some of the strategies we use to push through some of these barriers that we have to deal with on an everyday life. What would you say, Coach Yams?
One of my resources for sure is my therapist. I do check in with him monthly, um, just to like make sure that things are okay with me. Having somebody, because you get caught up in your day to day, and having somebody that doesn't isn't constantly looking at your day to day can have a zoomed out view of what you've got going on, and maybe point out things that you can't see because you're too close to it. So my therapist for sure is one of the things that one of the resources I enjoy using and having available. What about you?
So for me, I like to use sound therapy, music. Those things work for me because I find that a lot of times I'm not me being a water sign, and I keep bringing up that because I feel like it is significant. But a lot of times talking is not my strong point all the time. So like music, it fills me. It's almost like I can express myself. I used to actually play the piano, and I actually look forward to possibly being able to get back to that place, to just be able to release by just playing music, and it like soothes my nervous system as well, because I even listen, like I'll listen to some sounds to go to sleep. Before I go to bed, I'll listen to music or just sounds. It could even just be the sound of water that's flowing, background music, or they call it white noise, stuff like that. So that's the thing that I like to use to, you know, just help to keep the flow. And sometimes I do talk sometimes, but for me, I'm more like a nonverbal healer. So that's how it works for me. I do want to get a sound bowl because I think those are really cool. So I look forward to getting a sound bowl soon too. So
I,
okay.
and I was gonna add, because I just gave like a thing that I do monthly, and that's crazy. I need more than that. I also love to dance. Dancing is so fun. It just helps you release things from your body and loosen up, because life be lifing, and sometimes just dancing it out, it's goodness.
Don't forget to plug in Dancing with Yams on Wednesdays.
Well, yes, come dance with me, y'all. Every Wednesday, no matter where you're at. Dancewithyams.com at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are dancing every Wednesday.
Okay, for sure, for sure. Well, the time is moving quickly, so I'm going to go ahead and get down to some of the resources. Do you have any resources that you want to share with the people to help them with their holistic healing or their self-love?
Yeah. So, okay, specific resources. I think it just depends on what it is that you're working on in this season of your life. So, what I would say is to ask yourself what it is that you need the most support on, or where you're trying to grow the most. And then a simple Google search, or following somebody that's inspirational on social, connecting with podcasts, books, talking to people in your community about the thing that you're wanting to learn more about, grow more into. And when you take a step, resources would present themselves. So I know for me, I'm in a season of improving my relationship with finances, with money. My upbringing has shown me certain experiences and things, and I want different from myself. And that looked like doing a hypnotherapy session back in May. And it looks like, still working through things in a personal way. But then most recently, I had one of my friends recommend to me a book that I thought was very helpful. It's called We Should All Be Millionaires. And I cannot remember the lady's last name. Her first name is Rachel. But We Should All Be Millionaires, it was a great book. It challenged what I thought about money. and the practicality of being able to truly tap into your gifts and monetize that.
I love that. And also, I would add, we got Google, guys. Like, we have the internet. And to me, we have an advantage because back before we had the internet, all you really could depend on was your actual community that you have around you. So now that we have that resource to be able to connect, I mean, that's literally how me and Yams connected, was the internet. So there is a way. If there's a will, there's a way. You could start off doing a general search, and possibly you will connect it. Maybe go to some of the, you know, different events that they have, and you know that these people are interested in the same thing that you're interested in, to connect in real life to people. Where I currently live at, I mean, it's not too much around me when it comes to spirituality, but I have seen a few places that they, you know, do practice with spirituality. So sometimes it's like that. Sometimes where you are located at, you don't have that community. So you have to outsource, and that's perfectly fine, y'all. So, final reflections. You have any final thoughts or anything that you would like to share with the audience, Coach Yams?
I say don't be afraid to just try something new. It doesn't matter if anybody is willing to go on the adventure with you or not. Just be willing to try something new. It's okay. If you don't love it, now you know you don't love it. But if you do, now you got something that you love.
That's right. I totally agree. What I would say is just go with what you feel inside. Don't worry about the outside world, because a lot of times when we pay attention to what's going on outside of us, it does not reflect what you feel on the inside. And if you want to make your world on the outside reflect what you feel on the inside, that's the only way you're going to be able to get that to happen. If that means removing yourself from situations, remove yourself from the situation, because you don't want to be 10 years from now feeling as though maybe if I would have made that move, or maybe if I would have took that opportunity, I could be further. Do it now, even if it's small, and eventually you're going to see those things that you feel inside come to reality on the outside. So never look at the outside and say this is impossible, because you're seeing something. Always feel that it is, and it will happen, guys, for sure. So we do want to thank you guys for listening, tuning in. Definitely, if any of you out there would like to be a guest, or if you just have some question for us, make sure you check out the description box. We have left information regarding how to contact us. As well as, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Make sure you follow our pages. We have an Instagram, we have a TikTok, and we have a Facebook as well, y'all. So we're going to go ahead and end it. Sending you guys much love. Bye.